Okay, we're back in public session. Is there a member of this board that wishes to make a motion to accept proposed changes to the salary compensation plan in regards to the legal classification as recommended by the personnel officer?
Yes, I will make that motion.
Okay,
Cheryl
motion's-
Brew?
Van will second it.
Okay, discussion? Okay, I'm going to make a motion to amend Legislator Root's motion, and that is to adjust the recommendations of the personnel officer from a proposed change in step schedule of 15% less than reported comparable average to the comparable average. In other words, not 15% less than comparable, but comparable. And that is my motion, and is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Demick. Discussion. I'm going to request a roll call on the vote for the amendment. Please. Thank you.
Mr. Barnes,
This is on the amendment.
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick,
No.
Mr. Demick,
Yes.
Mr. Fanton,
No.
Mrs. Hanchett,
No.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Havey,
No.
Mr. Healy,
No.
Mrs. Root,
No.
and Mr. Stockin. Looks like there was 3 ayes and 7 noes.
Okay, the amendment fails. And on the resolution itself, I think we can do a voice vote on this. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried. Would anyone care to make a motion to amend the compensation plan to match proposals laid forward by the personnel director? Mr. Havey makes the motion, seconded by legislator Hanchett. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? And that's carried. Okay. Moving back up to board rules. So when last we spoke, we all had received a copy of the board rules. We had the opportunity to have any questions answered. We did have a request for kind of a summary of changes, significant changes made from the previous version of the board rules to the proposed version of the board rules. County Attorney, is that something you'd be able to address today? Good morning.
Good morning. So I do have a brief summary. I tried to make it as succinct as possible. I apologize, I don't have any copies of the board rules prepared for you today. But if you do want another copy, please let me know. If you do have additional questions about the board rules, please let me know as well. I'm happy to answer any individual questions. So the biggest change is that we renumbered the rules and put them into specific categories. So the original board rules, we did Rule 10, Rule 20, Rule 30, Rule 40. Instead, we put them in by 100s. So the 100 rules are all the organizational rules of the board. The 200 rules address the administrative rules of the board. So that is where you'll find the duties and responsibilities of the chairperson, the vice chairperson, the clerk of the board, the majority leader, the minority leader. The 300 rules are the rules for the committees of the board, specifically their general responsibilities, their powers, duties, and their business procedures, their powers, duties, and referrals, and then for each specific committee, their general jurisdictions and their administrative unit jurisdictions. And all that means is just the specific departments that report to them. And then the 400 rules are just the miscellaneous rules of the board, those rules that really did not have a specific place to go. The other big change that we did is that all the rules that are in that are in the document that come specifically from applicable county law or any other state law. They were all updated to include the exact language and the requirements. In the current board rules that you have, there are some conflicts or misinterpretations, and they don't line up exactly. So we wanted to make sure that the updated board rules say this exactly what they mean to be, and we took out any references that may be conflicts or would not go with the county law or the other applicable state law. Some specific stuff that I wanted to make you aware of. Rule 120, which is in the organizational rule, there's a specific section C that specifies the rules of decorum and order during proceedings of the board. So if there's any outbursts by members of the public or legislators, there's now specific rules and guidelines that will help members of the board and the chairperson or vice chairperson, if the chairperson is absent, to address those issues. Rule 120F, that addresses voting. We cleaned up the abstention and the recusal language. So that rule states that no member abstaining from a vote is required to state a reason why he or she is abstaining. However, if a member decides to recuse, they must state his or her reason for the recusal and then just not participate in any discussion of the topic or vote on the topic. There used to be the ability to have a monetary penalty for a member of the board, which was not enforced, and we just eliminated that monetary penalty as well. And also that the abstention or recusal must be noted in the minutes as well. Rule 200D, which goes to the administrative rules of the board, that addresses the duties of the chairperson of the board. That specifically states that the chairperson is an ex officio member of all board committees and has the right to attend, fully participate, and can vote be a voting member of the committee meetings. There was some confusion about whether the chairperson of the board could vote or not, so we wanted to clear that up. Rule 210 in your current board rules, Rule 210 of the proposed board rules addresses the duties of the vice chairperson of the board. And we went strictly to county law, and we wrote specifically verbatim what those rules and responsibilities are, and included those. In your current board rules, there's a list of duties and responsibilities for the vice chairman, and they aren't necessarily exact. They're not specifically what they are in county law. So we want to make sure that those were corrected. Rule 310D, which addresses the board committees and the quorum. We wanted to make sure that we knew specifically what a quorum was for committee members because we have some difficulty with that. So that just states that a majority of the regular members of the committee constitute the quorum and that the chairperson of the board is not considered a part of the quorum. So the chairperson can vote, but because he or she is an ex officio member, they don't count for the quorum. We updated in the 300 rules the general jurisdictions and the administrative unit jurisdictions of each of the committees. So if we did some, because they hadn't been updated in quite some time, there have been some additional, some departments don't exist anymore or they've been assumed by other departments. So we just cleaned all that language up. Or, for example, the county administrator's office or the treasurer's office may touch more than one committee. So we wanted to make sure that that was captured in the committees that we have. We also added the space needs subcommittee in there as well.
Allison, can I just ask you a question back on that D? For the purposes of a quorum, the chairperson of the board will not be considered as part of the quorum, but isn't that person part of that board, of that committee?
Yes, they are part of that committee, but they're considered to be an ex officio member of the committee.
She's talking about the board chair,
The board chair, not the committee
Oh,
chair.
okay,
Yeah, it's not the
sorry.
committee chair.
Okay,
The committee chair is it's the chairman of the chairperson of the board. Yes, yes. No, that's a good question because that can be confusing. And then also we included in Appendix A, which is the rules of debate sheet. So that lists in in order, the various motions that you can make when you are debating and in the order of that they're taken and how they, so the first one is the one that has most precedence. So if you make a motion for that, that's the rule of debate that you have to consider first. And then it also says if you need a second for it, if you are allowed to debate it, and then whether you need a majority or 2/3 vote to pass it. So that will also help all of you as legislators know what needs to be done and if you need a little cheat sheet. There are also some other changes that were made. I don't know if the county administrator can think of any off the top of her head that we need to address to you. But again, if there are any other specific questions that you have about the board rules.
It's
when
going
you-
into effect January 1.
And it's going into effect January 1st of 2026.
So if the board wanted to add committees or subtract committees for next year, it'd be helpful to know that when we adopt these board rules.
So you don't need any action today? Would you rather have action, or would you rather wait and see if we have any amendments before we?
I think looking at Rule 400, we still need to get, you still have add dates in there. We need to get the correct dates and a couple other things in there. It's up to you. I mean, I think we've explained all the changes if you guys want to move forward. If you think you're going to have more amendments, as long as we get this done by the end of the year, you'll be fine for January.
Why don't we move it forward as is, and then when we address it as a board, if there's changes to be made in committee structure or whatever, we can just amend it then? Or is that too complicated? Anyone? County attorney, that would work for you?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. All right, someone want to make a motion to approve the board rule amendments? Legislator Hanchett, second by Legislator Healy. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you, ma'am. Any unfinished business? Ma'am?
I was wondering where we are at with the animal abuse registry. It sounded like it was going to be moving forward so we can get it in for local law.
I have not received any updates from the district attorney. I will be seeing him tomorrow morning on an unrelated matter, so I can follow up with him at that time.
Okay. Because from his email, it sounded like he was waiting for some things, but he was willing to move forward.
That is my understanding, yes. So
Okay. Thank you.
Any other unfinished business? Sir?
In the board rules, I discovered, but we've had discussion about this requirement for district meetings. The legislators, and my understanding originally was that it was to meet with the local town boards, and then some of them have gone to hold just white-out public meetings. And at that time, there was no streaming of these things, or no records to go back and watch and listen to. And I've just heard discussion and wonder whether it's something we want to continue, but I understand it's a local law.
It's a local law?
It's in your local law for reapportionment. So when you went from a board of supervisors to a board of legislators, you created the local law to do that. You put that in there to give the sense of connection back with the town supervisors. Your only really requirement is to have a quarterly meeting with your town supervisors, not anybody else. And that's, if it's not working for you as an organization, government, it's not working for the towns, you certainly are free to amend that local law to get rid of that requirement. Think of a better way to communicate with your towns.
Mr. Healy?
Well, even if you just meet with your town board, it's still a public meeting.
Yeah, what I
With the
never
requirements.
understood was the announcement. Are we required to announce these meetings? That's what I don't understand.
I don't think it's really a public meeting. I think you've asked the clerk of the board to arrange these things for you. It's just, you're supposed to be updating your town supervisors on matters of county government, and they're supposed to relaying their concerns to you, just because not every town supervisor was a legislator. And there's some, I think, were feeling left out when you went from 29 people on the board down to 15.
You're talking about 60 years ago?
Correct, and that's when you put it in there, and if you're no longer doing it and you no longer feel that that's an effective way to communicate, you can take it out and come up with something better.
Are any of those people with hurt feelings still alive?
You know, I'm not going to take a survey, but I'm willing to guess that most have passed.
Okay, God rest their souls. Yeah, something to investigate. You want to put it on a Ways and Means agenda? Maybe we can strategize a local law amendment?
Yeah, it's fine with me. Sometimes we've been the only ones there, except for we asked to meet in a certain town, so that person shows up, but you know what I mean? They can find out way more watching these films than they'll ever get from a conversation with us on one evening. I'm just not sure it's worth the requirement. The other hand, if something's in there, you ought to do it.
Well, if there, I think a lot of legislators find benefit in the public forum aspect of those meetings, especially if there's a hot topic. I know it seems like always District 4 seems to get a big crowd. But there would be nothing precluding legislators from setting up those meetings anyway at any time, for the benefit of the public or themselves or whatever. So I think, good thought, Mr. Stockton, probably should be looked at. Was that new business? Any other new business? Anything for the good of the order? Maybe it was good of the order. Anyone care to make a motion to adjourn? Mr. Havey, Legislator Hanchett, all those in favor